How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to be talking about what you should do and what you should not do when police officers come to your door. So let's talk about this. But real quick, before we jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main sponsors of the channel, that being Customs. Customs does a ton to support us here on this channel and also to help support us here in the state of California. They have California compliant parts and features that you can purchase from them for your AR-15 style build. So if you'd be interested in taking a look at them, I'll put a link to them down in the detail section. So what to do and what not to do when police officers come to your door. This is probably one of the highest requested videos that I've been asked about fairly recently, especially because of all the things that have developed with the ATF. And there's been news that the ATF have been coming to people's doors and shooting people's dogs and all this stuff. It's pretty much getting out of hand, and people are even more concerned with the current state of our society. So first and foremost, although I am a licensed and practicing attorney in the state of California, this in no way is legal advice. Just understand, as this is just some general rules that I consider for myself, that I've talked about a lot with some of my other attorneys friends and law enforcement friends, and just kind of gone through this thought experiment, especially recently with all the stuff that's been going on about what individuals should and should not do if police officers, federal agents, etc. come to your door asking about guns or really just whatever. So let's get right into this. The first thing that you need to understand, and it's probably the most important thing, and if you take nothing else from this video, you need to hone in on this. The first thing is, do not talk to any law enforcement officer. Don't talk to a police officer. Don't talk to a federal agent. One, you are not obligated to talk to them. And also, all you're going to do is make your situation worse. Understand that you have a right to remain silent. You do not have to talk to police officers. And the reality is, and most people would tell you, and almost every single lawyer will tell you, is you're just going to get yourself in more trouble. So do not talk to law enforcement officers. Let them know that you are exercising your right to remain silent, that you're no longer going to talk with them. You would like to help them, but right now you're not going to be talking with them. So that's the first thing. Absolutely, above all else, do not talk to them. Do not talk to the law enforcement officers. The next thing you need to do is call a lawyer. That is the very next thing that should be crossing your mind after not talking to them. It's, I need to call my lawyer. Understand that if law enforcement officers, for whatever reason, are at your home knocking on your door, this is not a good situation for you. You, for some reason or for whatever reason, you're in a bad spot. So you need to talk to a lawyer, and you need to talk to a lawyer immediately. And one of the things I highly recommend people actually consider is to do these thought experiments beforehand. Think about what's going to be happening. Think about what your situation might be, and actually think about those lawyers that you trust and you might actually want to call if you find yourself in this situation. Just understand that maybe it's just a local attorney or maybe a family friend, but make sure it's someone you trust, someone that you trust their advice and can help guide you through this situation, and have that individual in mind so that when something like this happens unexpectedly, maybe it happens late at night, early in the morning, just randomly when you're at your house, have that person on tap in your phone so that you don't have to go searching in the pretty much heat of the moment. So that's number two, call a lawyer. First, don't say anything, shut up, be quiet. Second, call an attorney. The third thing I want to focus on here is, first, do not open the door. You are not obligated to open the door and talk to the law enforcement officers. You are not obligated to talk to ATF or whoever comes to your door. So first, don't open the door. You're not obligated to talk to them. Also, if they ask to come into your home, do not let them in your home. Do not open the door. Do not let them in your entryway, whatever, because that could be you consenting, waiving some rights, letting them in. So don't do that. Don't open the door. You're not obligated to open it to speak with them. You can talk with them through the door. Also, a really bad thing that could happen if you do consent to someone coming into your home, even if you're not consenting to a search, but just letting them into your entryway or something like that, or even just opening the door, you could fall under some like plain view laws and stuff. Like, what happens if you accidentally open the door and an ATF agent sees maybe you have a firearm kind of in plain view? It could just open up a whole lot of things, or maybe they get some sort of probable cause or something. Again, it just opens up a whole lot of can of worms that you don't want to have to deal with. Fourth, and coming right after this, and what I actually want to emphasize, is never consent to a search. You can consent to a search, and a police officer might even just be trying to be tricky and ask you like, hey, do you consent to a search? You don't have anything to hide, right? Let us come in, let us take a look around, let us go through your stuff, or let me just come in and just take a look around. Horrible idea. Never consent to a search. You can just get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. And understand, if the police officers have a right to be there or have a good reason to be there, they should get a search warrant, or they should get an arrest warrant. If they have some sort of probable cause that warrants them actually being there, they need to get those warrants. They need to get the search warrant. They need to get an arrest warrant, whatever it is. Consenting to things like this and giving them the workaround is just going to get yourself into way more trouble. If they have a legitimate reason to be there, they need to get those warrants. Also, another really important thing you should consider when it comes to consenting to searches or consenting to police officers coming into your home is if you have a significant other at your property, let them know as well that they should not be consenting to anybody coming into your home. These are discussions you should have beforehand. Just do these thought experiments, but let them know, them also, to not consent to all law enforcement officers coming into your home. Because again, if someone who resides at that home is consenting, those police officers can work around, get into there. Maybe you're not there and that individual does consent to someone like the ATF coming into your home and searching through all of your stuff. Let your significant other know that they should never be consenting to things like this. The fifth and last thing that I want to emphasize is that you do not want to leave your home. There are a whole lot of amazing things and protections you have when you're in your home. One of the great things, again, that I talked about earlier is if you're in your home, you have an expectation of privacy. You have a right to not be subject to unreasonable searches and seizures within your home. So if you're in your home, for a police officer to get to you, they either have to have a search warrant, arrest warrant, or some sort of exigent circumstance that warrants them kind of circumventing all those things, getting into your home, or like I mentioned, you consenting, which we talked about you should never do. But being in your home, being in your castle, grants you those additional protections. Another great thing that we talked about that kind of lumps all this together is that you don't have an obligation to open the door and speak with them unless they have a warrant or something like that. But the second you leave your home, you're kind of outside of all that. Now you're face to face with the police officer. He's addressing you. Now, again, I would never recommend that you talk to the police officer or law enforcement officer, whoever. Again, rule number one, above all else, don't say anything, be quiet, shut up, don't say anything, call an attorney, all those other things. But again, don't go outside. Don't try to leave your home. It can just open a whole nother can of worms. Who knows what they could argue. Maybe they could argue you're trying to evade arrest or something. It just can get really messy. You want to stay in the area where you have your most rights, you have your most protections, where you're protected from the law enforcement officers so that you can gather your thoughts, do what you need to do, like call your attorney and do all those things. So with everything that's been going on right now, not just with our society and the shifting of the political spectrum right now, and also the recent actions by agencies like the ATF and going to people's doors for like Polymer 80 issues and things like that, who knows what we're going to be facing here in these upcoming next 4 years. So these are some things you should really be thinking about because like we saw with some of these other things, like overnight, these federal agencies could change their definitions, or even just the US at large or your state could just change their laws around guns or whatever, just drastically overnight. And now all of a sudden, these law enforcement officers, these federal agents, whoever, are at your door asking about XYZ that you purchased, or do you have this, or do you not have this, or why did you purchase this from online, or I heard from your neighbor that you have X, Y, and Z. There's gonna just be a lot of horrible things that could happen to you. And so you don't want to play into that anymore, and you don't want to give them any more ammunition than they already have. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you guys like this video and like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell because that helps the channel analytics, helps us spread the word about the Second Amendment, and also spread the word about things like this. So as always, thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars. This nation will be maintained by armed scholars.